Mayong adlaw!
Selamat sore.
Xin chào mọi người.
Selamat sore.
You're listening to the Daily DAYscourse brought to you by Dear Asian Youth Iloilo City,
where we talk about relevant social topics through the perspective of the Ilonggo youth. But today, we still have special guests.
Today, we have our friends from Southeast Asia, or what we'd like to call ourselves, the Shopee Alliance.
Hey everyone, I'm Shyna from Dear Asian Youth Singapore.
Hi guys, this is Isabel from Dear Asian Youth Singapore.
Ako si Francesca from Dear Asian Youth Iloilo City.
Ako si Lorraine from Dear Asian Youth Iloilo City.
Nama ko Amara from Dear Asian Youth Jakarta.
Nama ko Hasna from Dear Asian Youth Jakarta.
Saya Lising from Dear Asian Youth Kuala Lumpur.
Saya Gitanjali from Dear Asian Youth Kuala Lumpur.
Mình tên là Linh, đến từ Dear Asian Youth Saigon.
Mình tên là Katie from Dear Asian Youth Saigon.
Welcome to episode 4, The Lack of Southeast Asian Representation, a Conversation.
Continuing the conversation from episode 3, we've noticed the lack of representation of Southeast Asians in Western media. In spite of this, there are ways for us to portray ourselves to the world in our own unique way.
Okay, let's start the first question. So we'll get the ball rolling with our first question, which is, due to the marginalization of Southeast Asians, how can we as young adults advocate for diversity and equality to prevent more tokenism? So mine's like just two things really. It's just to spark conversations on how limited or how misrepresented Southeast Asians are and Southeast Asia is, and just to support Southeast Asians who are trying to make it into the industry. Because like for the first part is like, nothing will happen if you don't spread the word to people, you know? Nothing will happen if you don't talk about it to others, because it's just gonna be stuck in your little circle that, oh guys, so yeah, you realize how misrepresented Southeast Asians are, but like nothing will happen if you don't go out of that small circle or that small bubble of yours, because people will never realize how lacking it is if you don't tell it to them directly, or if you don't play like something like Gartic phone, you know, like somebody like pass the message kind of thing, because the word is not going to go out there if you don't start talking, you know. So I think it's really, really important to spark conversations, even just in daily life, like, oh guys, have you noticed this movie? Have you point out this movie and say, hey, you notice that although it's Southeast Asian, not pertaining to a certain movie there or whatever, although it's Southeast Asian, the cast is like, the voice actors are East Asian, not calling out a movie or whatever, you know, just saying, you know, that there's a movie out there. You say that to people so that they can talk about it to other people as well, so that eventually, not the whole world, but like a lot of people understand that this is the situation, this is what's happening in media to Southeast Asia as a region. And I think we should also support Southeast Asians who are trying to make it into the media industry, like support their movies, or if they're singers, support them. If they release a short film, go watch it. If they're on YouTube, watch their videos, subscribe to them, because it looks like it's so little, but if a lot of you do it at the same time and then they eventually get their name out there, then you know that you've helped someone from Southeast Asia bring out the Southeast Asian name to Western media as well, you know? What do you guys think?
I think just like how some governments favor the privileged and over the marginalized, so does the media. It's been a full decade, I think, or more, how we are depicted as maids or people who just work in parlors. I think we can change that as a young adult. we can advocate for diversity and equality starting here. We are not just the same group of people here. We are from different countries and different like, regions of countries. So here we are all diverse. You don't see us shaming other people here. This is kind of like our safe space. As a young adult, we can use this to promote Southeast Asian cultures and all of that. By starting here, we are already able to inform other people. And I think starting small is already a good start. What about you, Shyna?
Yeah, I definitely agree with all of your points. And I think that also on a personal level, like we have our own social media, our own Instagram accounts. I think um we can repost like informative posts about these kind of issues, and also with regards to promoting Southeast Asian creators, I think we can also do that through like I think there are some films that aren't really as advertised or like publicized as compared to those major like blockbuster films. So I think that if we do more of like sharing or talking about it with your friends, I think that will also be a good way to help and support them. And I also think that um like we can also reach out to people, like let's say on online platforms, if we hear any remarks or any like racist comments, we can always like do our best to kind of debunk that or like say what we think about those comments. Yeah. What do you guys think?
Yeah. Besides that, though, I think it's also rather important to hold like those mostly in charge of our media nowadays for what sort of representations of Southeast Asians they're depicting. Like in big budget blockbuster films and all that, if there's something wrong or discrepancy, I do think that's important to actually point those out, criticize the creators and the work itself for the misrepresentation. Of course, since well, we're just small people, we're not going to be able to like pull out like large platforms, but we can just at least do our best to spread awareness about these issues, show that's actually wrong, harmful, and do our best to essentially educate ourselves and the others around us on topics regarding Southeast Asia and on the various ways that misrepresentation occurs. Hmm. Anyone else have any opinion?
Yeah, I agree with everything that's been said earlier. I do think that a lot of us are very much in a bubble, in an echo chamber, where we talk about diversity, but it doesn't really reach the larger public, especially people who live in Western countries and don't really have Southeast Asian friends or have been to Southeast Asia, for example. And I think that social media is a very powerful tool, and like Li-Sing said, calling out people, big blockbusters and stuff like that, who simply use tokenism in the name of diversity, calling them out, and also, like Shyna said, recognizing smaller films as well as even like local or Southeast Asian films that have been produced within the local industry, talking about that on social media, highlighting that this is the kind of thing that we want to see more, might make Western big blockbuster movie makers want to create more movies with proper representation of Southeast Asians. And moving on, I was wondering, do you guys have any stories or inspirations of Southeast Asians being recognized internationally? Can you share some?
I actually do. It's a folktale that is popular from my country, Indonesia, which people frequently connected with the infamous fairy tale Cinderella. And everyone knows what Cinderella is, obviously, unless you're living under a rock. So Cinderella, the similarity with our tale, Bawang Merah and Bawang Putih, whose plot is quite similar but differs in storyline. So it involves a stepmother and a stepsister who treats the main character unfairly, but in the end, it brought the same message to be kind and patient. Of course, Bawang Merah and Bawang Putih is peppered with Indonesian culture and mannerisms that can clearly be seen from certain descriptions of the story. What about you guys?
I actually have like a list. I've compiled a list of a few Southeast Asian artists or like people in the industry who are Southeast Asian. Of course, we have Miss Olivia Rodrigo, our favorite driver's license girl. She's Filipino ethnically. We also have Lea Salonga. She starred in Miss Saigon, and then she also sang Reflection in Mulan. If you don't know what Reflection is, the song Reflection from Mulan, I am so sorry. I am so sorry for you. We also have Henry Golding, who's Malaysian. We have Michelle Yeoh, who's also Malaysian. Both of them starred in Crazy Rich Asians. We have Lana Condor, who's actually ethnically Vietnamese. She was adopted from Vietnam, and then she moved to America. When she was adopted, she was adopted. Who played Lara Jean in To All the Boys I've Loved Before, like the series. We also have AJ Rafael. If you guys know the song "She Was Mine," you guys know that song. So I hopped on a train. That was so awkward. Anyway, that song, and we also have Jeremy Passion, who sang Lemonade. Who else? We have Manny Jacinto from The Good Place. If you don't know him, he's the monk known as Li Tianyu. He's actually Filipino because people thought he was like Chinese, and that his name and his like actual character is Jason Mendoza. We also have the host from Blue's Clues, the new one. His name is Josh De La Cruz. I'm pretty sure you know what Blue's Clues is. We also have the one who voiced Raya in Raya and the Last Dragon, Katie Marie Tran. And then we have the person who voiced Zuko in Avatar and the Last Airbender. Yeah, that's Dan Tabasco. He's Filipino. And also, I have like a movie recommendation. It's called Yellow Rose. You should watch it. It's on Netflix, and like it's about this Filipino American teen who's trying to make it out into the country music industry, and she's like torn in between if she should stay in her like little town or if she should go out there and like get her name out there, because she's like really conflicted with her mom and her family situation and everything. But yeah, I have compiled a list because I mean honestly it seems like it's a lot, but when you compare it to others, it's not that much. It's just a small percentage of what other people have as representation in Western media. How about you, Katie?
For me, I follow like a lot of models and like the fashion industry, and normally you don't see many Southeast Asians in the modeling industry, or actually not many Southeast Asians have like gotten the recognition they deserve in beauty pageants. Because like they don't really answer the description of the normal white people standard, like white people norms and the beauty standard that are placed upon society. But there's something that most Vietnamese are proud of, is that this transgender woman, Ms. Nguyen Hương Giang from Vietnam, who won Miss International Queen in 2018. I don't know if you guys follow, but Miss International Queen is like one of the biggest and like most elaborate beauty pageants for transgender people. I mean, transgender women in particular. And yeah, she won that in 2018, and we haven't stopped raving about that since then. So yeah, that's what's for me. What do you have, Linh?
Actually, Lorraine mentioned a lot. I was hoping she wouldn't steal any of my ideas, but but in terms of I've been trying to listen to more of Asian artists and low-key artists that maybe not much of the Western audience listen to, but two artists that came to mind that are, I think they're one of the rising stars. One of the more popular ones is Nikki and Rich Brian from 88 Rising. They're both Indonesian, and I especially Nikki, I really resonate a lot with her music, and I really appreciate that she's there to give out to enhance the Asian American name, the Southeast Asian name. And in terms of literature as well, I feel like these two books have started to become recognized internationally, and they're written by Vietnamese authors. One of them is Vietnamese American. It's by an author called Ocean Vuong, and the novel is called On Earth We're Briefly Gorgeous, and it's I would definitely recommend it. It's about it's semi-autobiographical, and it's about it's in the form of a letter to his illiterate mother, and it discusses his life as a Vietnamese immigrant. And I feel like especially if you're Vietnamese and you've learned about the Vietnam War, it's a very significant timeline in our history. Another book that has become really popular as well is by a Vietnamese American author as well, Gitanjali. He also wrote two books about his perspective. So his perspective on the Vietnam War. So both the first book is called Refugees, and the second book is called The Sympathizer. And I have read The Sympathizer, and I definitely recommend it. And it's from the perception of Vietnamese people, and how and it shows our perspective really, and it definitely resonates with us more than any of the Western depictions of and how the Vietnam War was seen in their eyes. Leading on to this, actually, how do you guys think that Southeast Asian culture has been portrayed in Western media or pop culture, and what do you think are the positives and negatives of this?
Okay, before I start, my internet connection is like kind of bad, so like if I'm freezing again, you guys can just like cut me out. I'm like so sorry. I don't know what's going on. Okay. Honestly, I don't think that there's like enough representation for me to generalize the portrayal of Southeast Asian in the media. There's definitely so much more work that needs to be done, but I'm thankful that we're taking small steps towards the right thing. For example, I know that now K-pop has more Thai artists, and I know there's like a couple of Indonesian idols also. And I think that Southeast Asian idols that I mean actors are also making a breakthrough in Hollywood with their blockbuster films. So I think that it's great that Southeast Asian kids nowadays will be able to watch TV and see people that looks like them. But on the flip side, I hope that Hollywood is also like not trying to fit us into this Asian mold that they have made, and we should be able to embrace and enrich our culture through the media without the fear of whitewash or generalization. What do you guys think?
Yeah, I definitely agree with you. There's like not enough representation to like generalize it all. As for the positives and negatives, right? I think it's good that people are out there trying to enlighten other people of our culture, but sometimes it might not be accurate and all that, right? Misinformation being spread. So that's a negative. Well, it depends on your point of view, I guess. Some info is correct, some info is false. If the person receiving the info like checks properly, then it's a good thing. If the person just anyhow believes, then it's not, of course. Right now, the amount of representation and the amount of Southeast Asian culture that's being portrayed in pop culture in general is in fact increasing a little bit. And I believe it's giving Southeast Asian actors or performers a larger chance to be part of it all, you know, a larger chance to be seen as quote unquote equal with the others. Another negative is that there can be a lot of stereotyping along with the pop culture, because at the moment it's not entirely accurate, you know. So people will think like, oh, they all have dark skin tones, or oh, they all have really light skin tones. It's Southeast Asia is a really, really diverse country. So if you stereotype people, it's as if you're all trying to lump us together, you know? Yeah. That's all I have to say. Anything else?
Yeah, actually, recently I've heard that certain Southeast Asian designers, like fashion designers, have really picked up and gained popularity. I don't know if you guys know the brand Sun Paris, which is created by a Vietnamese Dutch person. And they've really picked up in the last couple of years, and they've really gotten the recognition they deserve. And I think that's exemplifying the small steps that we're taking just to bring Southeast Asian support, bring them the recognition that they deserve, and just kind of like bring them out of the shadows because, you know, Southeast Asians have always been overshadowed by other peers, not peers, other people like white people or like East Asians, European nations. Like they've never gotten the recognition they deserve. But I feel like if we over exemplify like these really successful people, it still fuels something called a model minority myth, which will in turn like be harmful for Asians, which are just average, which don't aim to be famous or anything like that. Yeah, and then there'll be pressure to live up to such standards. But then again, representation is great, like no matter who they represent. And that brings us actually, what would proper Southeast Asian representation look like to you as a Southeast Asian?
Well, for starters, then first of all, we need to get rid of the whole stereotype that South Asia as a whole, homogenous, homogenized, like whole, very diverse place. And as Isabel said, it's kind of like, oftentimes you just like thrust the entirety of this part of the world into just one single thing and describe everyone as, you know, same stereotypes, same myths over and over again played out. If there's going to be any change towards the way that Southeast Asians are represented, then we definitely need to get rid of that stereotype. Another big cross the mythologization of the Southeast Asian region in general. Like, especially in ways how people like, in ways that Southeast Asia is often represented down, sort of like spiritual place that sort of like differ from everyone else. It's exotic when it's not. It's just another region of the world. That's another stereotype that needs to be removed. And what do you think, Gitanjali?
Yeah, I definitely agree. You know, we need to have representation of how diverse we are, and also a more accurate portrayal. As in, we've already seen how Asians have been fitted into very stereotypical roles in Western media. And this applies to, you know, East Asians and South Asians as well. But when you have when you represent, the kind of representation I want to see is Southeast Asians having unique characters and, you know, not being, if they are in a Western society, not necessarily being ostracized by the society, but also staying in touch with their culture, but also being integrated in the society that they're in, if that makes sense. And just portrayed like true to their culture, but also like any other character. And I think this stems not only from the actors and the casting process, but also how the directors and writers write their characters as well, which is very important. So the behind the scenes work is just as important as the actors' portrayal of the characters, in my opinion. Does anyone else have any ideas?
Yeah. I completely agree with you. As Southeast Asians, we want to be seen as equals along with the others, but yet we don't want to be seen as exactly like the white people, if you get what I mean. We want to still have our own traditions and cultures, but we don't want said cultures to be our entire personality. We want to be more than just our stereotypes and cultures. I think it'd be a good idea if people were to give the Southeast Asians a more equal chance of being chosen to lead a role, you know, like maybe just a casual Southeast Asian character that's maybe a side character or the main character, but no matter what, you shouldn't make being Southeast Asian the character's entire personality. It shouldn't be the only things the character has to offer. Yeah, that's what I think. Anyone else?
I totally agree. A proper representation would be representing us for who we truly are instead of making over exaggeration portrayals of us, you know. As Lee mentioned, we do have to remove this stereotype first, like stop with the class Asian nerds, the gold digging female characters, portrayals of quote unquote exoticism, while highlighting our great cultures, as Isabel also mentioned. We are much more than the ways they portray us. We are people of intelligence, of beauty, of rich culture. We contribute to changing the world in positive ways, and yet we are treated as a footnote. Now more than ever, there is a need to turn around that perspective from us. And also, I would like to ask, why is proper accurate representation in Western media so important, and how will it help?
Yeah, okay. So I think that definitely important for young children to look up to. I mean, like, for example, like growing up, I've never found any Disney characters or like Disney princesses that looks like me. I've never found any actresses or singers with the same skin color as me. And I spent so long wanting to look like those white characters. And it took me a while to embrace my own features that makes me Southeast Asians. Before finding Nikki, the Indonesian singer from 88 Rising, I never knew that it's possible for a Southeast Asian to make it through in international music. So I think that with more representation, children from now on won't have to go through that like self-doubt phase that we all sort of went through. And I think that it's definitely something that we should be doing more of.
Yeah, I definitely agree with that aspect, and it's not just that idea. It's like in general, it's just to stop stereotypes, to educate people and help others understand that every one of our cultures in Southeast Asia, all of our cultures, all of our traditions are different, and instead of trying to see it, of others seeing it as bizarre or uncivilized, you know, it's like we should just try to they should just try to understand it is how it is and it's our culture. So instead of westernizing it, you know, just see it as something that's different and that's something that resonates with us individually. It doesn't have to resonate with you, but it can just be something that belongs to us that we can maintain. And whilst developing the knowledge of different cultures and stopping misinterpretations of our cultures, it also allows for diversity in the global world, and it allows us to strive for, you know, international mindedness. And I feel like that's something that we should aim for, especially towards the next generations and everything. Is there anything else that anyone else would like to add?
Yeah, actually, I mean, especially with globalization, so many people consume Western media, right? So definitely Western media plays a huge role in shaping our perceptions of like other people, and especially like for Westerners, how they view like people basically out of their own like social circles. So I mean, proper representation is important because like Southeast Asian stereotypes that you see in Western media can be very detrimental to both like Southeast Asians, because I mean, when we grow up, we don't really see as many people that we can look up to, as what Hasna mentioned just now. And I think it's also detrimental to like the consumers of Western media, because they get these stereotypes or these perceptions basically fed to them from a young age. And I mean, they would just grow up with that same perception, and it will just basically make the entire situation worse, because you would have more people harboring those same sentiments. And so with proper representation, we can help fight and break down these stereotypes and really show what Southeast Asian people really are. Yeah.
In my opinion, proper accurate representation in Western media is important because it could create more opportunities for Southeast Asian or for Southeast Asians in general. Due to the stereotypical slurs or racist comments that have been put down on us, it has removed a lot of opportunities from very creative people or deserving people who actually have the talent to portray other characters. You know, it's like Crazy Rich Asians. They could have portrayed more Southeast Asians other than just Chris Aquino. I mean, like Chris Aquino was fine. She was like the 1% of Southeast Asians there in the movie. The movie was shot in Singapore, but it was mostly just East Asians, Western Asians. You know, it's degrading at a point, and I hope that it could change soon. For our last question, I would like to ask, what were your biggest takeaways from this conversation?
One of the biggest takeaways is the fact that the stereotypes, especially for Southeast Asia, are still like they're still really prominent. They're still there. Like for example, there's this one common insult that that other people tend to use for people in Asia in general, but it's not just limited to East Asians, it's not just limited to Southeast Asians. Some people, like whenever they see someone that looks remotely Asian, they'll be like, oh, ching chong, ling long, ching chong. I'm sure you guys have heard of it at some point, right? It started off as making fun of the Chinese as the Chinese and and Mandarin as a language. But in the end, now people use it as like a general insult for everyone in Southeast Asia. So it's sort of like two insults in one. One, they're making fun of language. Two, not all Southeast Asians are Chinese. Just because maybe you have like slightly fairer skin, that doesn't mean you're Chinese. It doesn't mean you're white. You can be maybe Vietnamese, you know. Additionally, East Asians tend to be more well-known due to the fact that their culture is spread throughout the Western countries. Like there's K-pop, there's anime. I touched on this on the previous episode. Yeah. Due to East Asia being more well-known, Southeast Asians are more discriminated against. There are a lot of stereotypes, and people will look down on us just because we are South Asian, right? What do you think?
I think my biggest takeaway here is how I've seen how xenocentric the Western media could be. By xenocentric, I mean how they choose only or how they disregard Southeast Asians in general when depicting the media. I think that they should promote more cultural relativism wherein we would all have equal opportunities to be shown. You know, we need more opportunities because there are more talented people than we know. Although they say that it's a small world, in this small world, there are many people in hiding their talents. You know, they could have portrayed it if there were more opportunities. You know, it's the mere portrayal of xenophobia. By xenophobia, I mean it's like they're scared of using other cultures and instead of just using their own. You know, it's not something to be proud of. this is something we need to change. So since we are still at our youth, we are here now talking about it, and by this podcast, we are now able to inform the people of the recent events.
For me, I think it's that very simple. It's just that Southeast Asians should get the representation we think we deserve. And I've said this a bunch of times in the previous episode. We are not just what Western media thinks we are, because for many, actually, I don't know if you guys realize this, but many people in the Western world see Southeast Asia as a retirement area or as a refuge from all of the buzz that is in their place. Like, I don't know if you guys heard of the Kristen Gray situation in Indonesia, where she went to Bali and then she worked there for a while illegally without paying taxes, or with a tourist visa apparently, and then she wrote a book encouraging other Americans to do the same thing, to move to Bali for work, because apparently it's more peaceful there. Apparently that it's also the value of the dollar is so much higher in Indonesia compared to in America. And I think the whole Twitter discourse about it is that Americans were calling us, and we're saying that, Southeast Asia isn't as nice. Why are you guys defending it so much, or something within that context? Like, we are more than just a haven for Americans or for Europeans. We are not just their retirement homes. We are not a place to live out the rest of your life in, because the value of the dollar is, or whatever, of the euro is higher here compared to their home places. We are a region full of beautiful cultures and beautiful people. We are so much more than whatever the first world countries, let's say, first world countries want us to become for them. They are so self-serving to the point where some parts of Southeast Asia are suffering from their imperialism as well. I don't know if you guys notice that. But yeah, I feel like just because media in the States has been established already, like their stereotypes have been established, or just because you are this race you have to play this certain role, that doesn't mean that we can't change it. We still have to fight for the representation we know and we think we deserve, because we deserve so much more than whatever has been painted onto us. As Southeast Asians, we are not just the side character, or we are not just the jungle Asians, or what they call us, because there's a rich culture in this area of land and water that is so blind or so covered in the eyes of the people in the Western world, because they can't see it. It's either they choose to not see it, or people are hiding it from them. But there is so much more that we can offer. We really do deserve the representation. We deserve so much more than whatever we have right now in Western media.
Okay, so I learned a lot about other Southeast Asian countries through different perspectives from you guys. I found that our country isn't alone, and the injustice has been going on for so long. The world is so normalizing it, which is totally not okay. So true, we are known for our culture, but due to it, we just became symbols of exoticism and something that is out of this world, something that people frown upon. Like, they never went in depth. They're always just like seeing us from the surface, But I am glad that we're all in this together, battling off this issue to finally earn our right, perhaps someday. What do you guys think?
I think that I've never realized how little Southeast Asian has been represented in the media until this conversation. I've never realized that other Southeast Asian countries are also going through the same thing that us Indonesian are going through. So I think that conversations like this are definitely a start for people to be more aware of the misrepresentation of Southeast Asian and also the lack of representation of Southeast Asian. And I just think that us as youth, we have the power to change those things because we are the future of the world. So I think that I just like from these conversations, I've realized how much power that we actually have. And if people were wanted to take that step further, I think that we can definitely change the world for the better. What do you guys think?
Personally, I do believe that Southeast Asia as an entire region suffers very much from like colonial biases and it be done to slowly erase these stereotypes and remove other Western Orientalist perceptions currently exist in the world today about Southeast Asia, because it's certainly not right now. But at the same time, though, it's not entirely dark, I suppose. As much as we've roasted Raya and The Last Dragon and all those other sorts of similar things, at least it's a step in the right direction. There's a little bit more Southeast Asian representation than there was in the past, and unite our voices together and work our way to correct it and eventually turn it from misrepresentations into accurate representations of Southeast Asia that are actually educational for everyone around. Yeah, and that's what I think.
Yeah, I agree with everything that's been said so far. And I think that, using our voices, having more conversations like this, going to social media and, voicing our discontentment with the whole lack of representation thing and tokenism, recognizing and celebrating Southeast Asian creatives for the successes that they've had so far, highlighting the wrongs with tokenism. I think these are all very important things that we should be doing, and we should be pushing not only for more representation on screen, but also off screen. We should be pushing for more Southeast Asian writers, filmmakers, directors, producers in Western media so that we can actually get proper representation. Because if the people behind the scenes understand the culture fully, then we can hope for the characters on screen to be more accurately portrayed. And yeah, that's what I think.
Yeah, exactly. And I think what I've learned today or through the past 2 episodes, I've learned that so many subtle things go unnoticed, especially when it comes to lack of representation or Southeast representation, casting, artistry, in social media, and in general that is disregarding what it means to be a Southeast Asian. And I personally feel like if you're not Southeast Asian and you don't know or you don't have any experience of being a Southeast Asian, how it feels to be us, I feel like there's lack of right that you have to create a standard image of us and then make it the norm. And then sometimes it goes to the point where even if we try to correct ourselves, we're the ones who are wrong. And imagining foreigners trying to correct you for your own culture, your own identity, it's displeasing. It makes you question your position in society and how you should view your own country. But for me, I feel like you should, every Southeast Asian out there, you should definitely feel pride being Southeast Asian. There's nothing wrong with that. There's nothing wrong with that at all. And respect yourself, you know. Katie, anything else you want to add?
Yeah, honestly, this conversation has kind of brought me awareness on how much misrepresentation there is, because I've never noticed how we are portrayed. Like, it's all been so normal to me, you know, like growing up around pop culture and Western culture being so normalized. I've just thought, yeah, maybe I should fix myself, and I've never thought that it's actually the white people's fault for misportraying us, for saying that we're something that we're not, or like disregarding our culture, disregarding the beauty of being Southeast Asian. I've always thought I was in the wrong, and this conversation has honestly like just kind of gave me like a knock on the head, just to know that yeah, the white people aren't making an effort to accurately portray Southeast Asian for what they are. And so therefore, we should, you know, fight for more validation and more accurate portrayal of who we are, of our culture, and just strive for diversity. And yeah, it's I'm very proud that we're actually like taking small steps to do that through social media.
Yeah, okay, so I guess I'm going last. But anyways, yeah, so I feel that this entire conversation was really meaningful. I mean, at first, like when you see the news and all, it kind of gives that sort of idea that, oh, Westerners are racist to Asians in general, which is like true, because like if you see the news during COVID-19, all the different racist attacks on on Asians. But actually, like when you peel back the layers, it's very shocking that there's still a hierarchy of like Asians, with like South Asians, East Asians, and then Southeast Asians, and how people like us are not Asian enough. So I feel like, I mean, it was very shocking for me to see that even with all the racism, there was still different, like multifaceted areas of like racism in the entertainment industry, especially. And yeah, the second thing that I realized, that there's actually like so many talented Southeast Asians that don't get recognized enough. And they can bring so much to the table if they got the chance to show off their abilities and talents. So I think that for us as youth, we can really do our part to help them, support them, and like, you know, promote them to the people we know around us. Yeah, so with that, we've come to the end of the second episode of a conversation brought to you by the Shopee Alliance. So we hope that these episodes has been very meaningful for all our listeners. Yeah, this has been Shyna,
Isabel,
Hasna,
Lorraine.
Amara.
Hasna.
Riesling.
Gitanjali.
Linh.
And Katie.
and with that, that's it for this episode of the Daily DAYscourse. Thank you guys so much for tuning into our conversation on the lack of Southeast Asian representation. See you guys next time.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.